welcome to Canei Business Podcast. It's a podcast dedicated to business professionals to help them make a lot of money and accomplish their goals and dreams. And today we have a guest today, Tanya McKinley. She's an accountant. Uh, she went to Oglethorpe University for her certified financial planning program. She's certified with QuickBooks Pro. She's a QuickBooks Pro advisor. Right now, she spent the last 8 years working at Abundant Returns. She's an expert in what she does, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself, how we can make money in the tax industry, and what she's up to going forward in her life and in business. So, how you doing today, Miss Tanya?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So, tell us about how you got started in the financial industry, like what made you come into the industry?
So, growing up, I grew up in a neighborhood of mostly single moms. My mother actually suffered with mental illness and depression, and I thought a lot of it was around money because that was her constant complaint. So I thought if I could, get a handle on the money, that would help her to overcome what she was experiencing.
Mm. And how did you get your first start, your first opportunity in the financial industry? Like, was it like for me? I always wanted to be rich, right? Since I was a little kid, I saw this show called Richie Rich, and I'm like, oh, I want to be rich. So from that point, it was how can I become rich, which led me to think about where is all the money? Where's the money? And I thought the financial industry, since they deal with money, has to have a lot of money. So that's kind of what attracted me to the industry. So what attracted you to the industry?
I originally had gone to college to become a social worker, but I really wanted something that I could do from home because I had this dream of being married and have a family. And I did want to stay at home with my children because my mother was at home with me. So I was trying to figure out what I could do to be able to do that and make money. So accounting came up as a career that would afford me that.
Okay, and that was during college that you discovered accounting, or was it after college?
It was during college. I actually got a job at the city of San Francisco.
Okay.
And I got a promotion into the accounting department. I didn't know anything about it at the time, but I just fell into it very naturally. It was a great fit for me. My grandfather was the one who originally showed me how to pay bills because he was a homeowner, and he taught me to write the checks for the bills, and so that was really my start. So it just came as a natural progression for me. It's how I think. So it really didn't require a lot of effort.
Okay, so you're just naturally a numbers person.
I wouldn't say a numbers person, but I understand the logic behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the financial industry, obviously, is a tough industry, right?
Absolutely.
They say there's an 80% turnover in our industry, and for you to be in the financial industry for 37 years, that speaks a lot to your grit and your want to. So, what has made you stay in the financial industry for so long, where so many people are leaving the industry?
For me, I really think it's working with the clients, right? So I've gotten to work in several industries. I've worked in government, I've worked in nonprofits, I've worked in medical, I've worked in trucking, I've worked in a variety of industries. And the accounting is the same, so it affords me the ability to do that. Each industry, of course, has its nuances, but in and of itself, it's pretty much the same. But working with smaller businesses and individual clients is really where you can experience and see growth. You can experience and see results of your hard work. And so that really gives you a good feeling and a sense of satisfaction.
Okay, so you do it because you just really like helping people, right?
Basically, yes.
Okay, that's pretty good reason to do it. Yeah, I enjoy that aspect of it as well. Like that kind of the money is fine, but when you're able to like pour into someone else, kind of like what we're going to do today, right, and help them understand things that they didn't know before, and you kind of see their eyes light up, like I didn't know I could do that, I didn't know I could do this with my money, I didn't know about the tax rules and all that kind of stuff. So that's pretty awesome for me. And another thing that I really like is like connecting people with other entrepreneurs and other business people. I think that's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I enjoy that as well because they do see you as the advisor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you establish a relationship with them,
Mm-hmm.
they do come to you and for resources. So
Mm-hmm.
it's great to be able to have those relationships,
Mm-hmm.
those connections, like you said.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think one of the most powerful things as an advisor is when a client really defers to your expertise. You know, like they say, "What would you do?" Right? So they just give it all over to you. And I think that's when they really, really begin to trust you as an advisor and as a coach. You know, so for someone who is interested in going to taxes, right? Because I think that's an area I'm going to start looking at as well, right? How would someone start preparing to go and become like a tax advisor, tax preparer?
Okay, so yeah, I would definitely recommend starting as a tax preparer.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you your basics, your ground rules. The way I started was with a course at Jackson Hewitt.
Mm-hmm.
I took their training. It was like a month long, and it basically taught you the basics of income tax preparation. Because of the age that we live in, a lot of the software gives you what you need in order to complete the return. So if you ask the questions that are presented, you will get the information that you need from the client. From there, I would recommend taking the enrolled agents course with the IRS. That also gives you a more in-depth background with preparing taxes, especially if you're working with a lot of smaller corporations like we do, and advising them on the tax law. It also gives you the ability to represent your clients. So tax resolution is a hot industry right now. Tax resolution um, gives you the opportunity to help clients to get rid of or lower their tax debt with the IRS if they've had some issues in the past. So that credential allows you to represent them in front of the IRS. So you can just take the case on. You don't have to have the client there. So I would recommend that path if you're really serious about becoming a tax preparer and helping businesses to not only comply with the tax law but pay the least amount of tax.
Okay, so when let's say someone is in their first year and they're interested in becoming get into taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How do you recommend that they work for like a company like H&R Block or first, or can they just jump right ahead and go into the enrollment as a become an enrollment agent? Enrollment agent.
So that process, depending on what your study habits are, it's a 3-part test. So they're each taken individually. So that process can take anywhere from a semester long, maybe 4 months,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, to a year. You have 2 years in order to pass all 3 parts, and then they go through and evaluate your tax history. So, in addition to being able to pass the test, you also have to be in compliance with the IRS, meaning you don't owe them any taxes and you filed your returns consistently.
Mm-hmm. So, can someone pass just one part of that test and focus on that one area? Because I like I know like the 3 parts of it. 2 of the 3 parts I know.
Mm-hmm.
One is small business. One is individual, and the third one I think is ethics.
Right. Well, yeah, it's more about how to comply with the laws
Mhm.
of the IRS and the rules and regulations according to the IRS.
Okay. So if someone just passed the first test, they are not officially an enrollment agent until they pass all three.
That's correct.
But they can still be a quote unquote tax preparer without passing any of those tests.
That's correct.
Okay.
Again, the age that we live in, software providers provide support. You can call them and ask them questions. The software itself will cue you as to what you need to put in the field and what questions you should ask and what research, if necessary, you need to do in order to get the information to complete that return.
Okay. Is there any software that you recommend?
I like Drake software for the reasons that I mentioned. It will not let you close out a return until you have completed. It will pop up different notes or different things that you need to clear in order to make the return eligible to electronically file, which means the IRS will accept it. So it does provide, again, the support. They got training videos, you can call. So they really do support their product. And to start out, you can either do on a return by return basis, which costs a minimum of $300 to get in. And for a full blown program, it's about less than $2,000 currently. So it's cost effective. You know, you can ramp up, you can pay for a return until you get enough clientele to pay for the full blown. But you get the accessibility to all of the inner workings of the program, even if you're on a return by return basis.
Okay, so you are saying like if someone is just starting and they don't have a huge client base, they can just get use the Drake program as a
pay per return.
How does that kind of work? Like Drake takes some of your income, or how does that work?
No, Drake doesn't take any of your income. What you do is you would pay like I think the minimum is $300, and each return you file they would subtract. And I think each return is $24.95 or something like that.
Okay.
I haven't really checked about that in some years, so don't quote me on the prices, but you can definitely go on their website. They provide all that information up front.
Okay. I remember we were having a conversation before in our pre-call, and you were saying that there's a software that allows you to connect with a bank, and so the client gets paid instantly or sooner, and then you also get paid, and then the returns goes to the bank. Or what software is that?
Okay, so that you can do through most tax preparation softwares. There are a couple out there. There's TaxWise, Drake. I haven't really looked into the industry lately because we've been just using Drake and we love it. But there are other tax software programs. So if you're thinking of doing that, you would have to get set up with the bank. That way you can offer your clients the ability to pay you through their refund. And what that process entails is you would sign up with the bank, they would approve you. Then as clients, as you do their return, they have a refund and they express the desire to pay you through the refund. You can, the software prints out the bank authorizations, you have the client sign, and what happens basically is the bank advances you and the client their money, and then they wait until the IRS pays them through the refund. So that's why you get the refund in 2 weeks or 2 days or whatever, versus waiting the 6 or more weeks to get it from the IRS. But we use the feature that allows the clients to pay us through the refund. We always recommend direct deposits for our clients' refund. We don't do like the expensive products, just because we're about saving people money. So that's the route. I mean, of course, if they want it, we have the capability of doing it, but We always explain the cost is astronomical if you do that. So
Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. So, you do individual taxes and you do business taxes, right?
yeah.
On the individual side, right?
Mm-hmm.
For people who are on the client, right? Because everyone has to file their taxes essentially. And
Right.
some people try not to file their taxes for whatever reason. And you know, it's interesting. While we're on that subject of people not filing their taxes, um, s- doing a lot of with the government doing the EIDL and PPP loans, that's biting a lot of people in the butt because if they didn't file their taxes, they cannot get the EIDL loan. What's your thoughts on that?
That's correct. They did offer a workaround
Mm-hmm.
where you can go on the IRS website and put in your information and supposedly register to get the stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a lot of calls from people saying that they couldn't do it or it wasn't accepting your information for whatever reason. So, yes, please, please, please file your taxes on time. Even if you can't pay the money, still file the taxes because if you don't file, it accumulates penalties and interest that, I mean, it's going to accumulate interest on the non payment, but at least you have your information filed. The IRS knows you're not running from them and they're not going to hunt you down. If you don't file, that is more impetus for them to pull your information and find out what's going on.
So, why do you think, from your experience, why do you think people don't file or they try to avoid not filing? Is it just simply they don't want to pay the money to file, or what do you think it is?
In my experience, there's been a lot of different reasons. Some people, most people, don't like the IRS. So it either causes two responses. Either they're very anal about filing and making sure that everything is done because they don't want any problems with the IRS, or they don't want to have the IRS have anything to do with the IRS. And those are two extremes. But you want to at least file. You know, you don't want to create a problem for yourself that could ultimately end you in jail or ultimately cause you to have to file bankruptcy. Or ultimately, you know, the IRS has the ability to take all of your money out of your bank account without telling you anything. Which I've had clients experience that, a family member has experienced that.
But you saying the IRS literally one day just woke up in the morning
And there's no money in the bank account. No.
Are you serious?
And then they can go garnish your wages. They don't have to tell you anything. They can take as much as they want. You want to always try and maintain control of the situation. It's just good, sound money management, you know, to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed. And it's heartbreaking to see people, you know, in that situation. And at that point, you would want to seek a tax resolutionist if, you know, you're in a situation where they're garnishing your wages or something like that is happening, so that they can kind of negotiate on your behalf to get you into a better situation. But there's going to be time in between that period where you're going to basically have zero funds. So, I mean, as an adult, you never want to find yourself in a situation where you have zero funds.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare situation.
It is, and unfortunately, it does happen. The IRS is not sympathetic towards you, and they can't have the authority to back that up.
Wow, that is crazy. I wouldn't know what to do if I woke up one day.
Yeah, I mean, it's tear. You'll be crying.
So, I mean, how do they even climb out of that if they have no money in their bank account and they try to seek a professional? You know, these professionals want to be paid as well.
That's correct. So think about that.
So you might as well just file your taxes, is what you're saying.
You would want to just go ahead and follow the rules. Yeah, in this instance, you know, some things you can go manipulate, but this is unfortunately it's not one of those.
So one of the things I'm thinking of right now is I've had a young guy who's never filed his taxes, making pretty good money, right? You wanted to get the idea or loan through my company. We couldn't do it for him because he has no documentation. And then on top of that, what's happening is a lot of business people don't have their businesses set up properly. So he's running his business, his cash through Cash App. He doesn't have a business bank account, and then it gets deposited into his personal bank account, not his business account. So we can't look at, or if we're doing a business loan, we can't look at your personal unless you're sole proprietor, but he had an LLC, right? Now, for someone like that who has not filed taxes in like 2, 3, 4 years, and then all of a sudden they decide they're gonna file taxes, what would you anticipate as like the consequences, or is there no consequences? How would that scenario look like for him?
So it depends on how he's been earning his money. So in the scenario that you described, it's quite probable that he has not been paying any money in, right? So, but if he has W-2 income, which is, when you get wages from an employer, they will normally take some money out and pay into the system for you. That counts as a credit against the tax liability, so it reduces it. But in the scenario that you described, what's going to happen is once he gets caught up and files and gets in compliance, IRS is going to send him a bill. And it's going to have penalties and interest calculated on it. One thing he can do is go to a resolutionist and try and get some of those fees and interest abated. You hear on the radio, oh, I got rid of $10,000 worth of tax debt. Those are cases usually with business owners who really can show that they do not have the ability to pay. But when you do a resolution case, you have to fill out a form called a 433F, which is basically a personal financial statement. They ask you about your bills that you have for living. They have certain allowances that they take, but after that, what they're trying to do is come up with an amount that you can pay them, not that you can live on. So you have to keep all the IRS has everything calculated to benefit them, not you. So again, I would recommend that he seek the assistance of a resolutionist.
Okay, and the resolution is much different from an enrollment agent.
No.
It can be the same?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, but you want somebody who knows how to do tax resolution because there's an art to it.
Okay.
There's an art to negotiate with the IRS. There's, things that you can do if you're in the know to really pull out a great benefit for your client, and then they can say, I have $20,000 in IRS debts, all I have to pay is $10.
Okay. Is that stuff that you do?
That is stuff that our firm does. I am learning to do it, so I'm adding that to my skill set. But there's much to learn. Like I said, it's an art, and there are rules. And you want to be aware of what to do to get the best result for the client. But my firm does it, and there are people who are
specialists in your firm. It sounds complicated.
It's not. It's it's like everything is a relationship, right? So you're dealing with an agent. You establish a relationship. You're representing the client, so they're saying, "Hey, pay me." You're saying, "Well, yeah, I want to pay you, but I don't want to pay you that. I want to pay you this." And then there's that dance back and forth to come to something that's going to be a good outcome for your client, and that's going to satisfy the debt with the IRS.
Okay, so like an enrollment agent, right, can represent themselves in front of the IRS, but that's not really in court. That's like over the phone.
It used to be in person because depending on, like, we had a client who has a business and she hadn't paid, and the IRS came out to see what was going on. I mean, they came to our house. They looking around, and we got comments from the revenue agent, like, the car that she's driving and the rings on her fingers, and they look at all that.
So the IRS came to her
And they can do that. You don't have to let them in, but they can come.
That's called an audit, right?
Usually, it could be an audit or it could be them just investigating.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. And they look at the rings, the cars.
They look at your lifestyle. That's correct.
And
to
they're
see,
like, okay,
yeah,
this is where our money is.
right.
On
Instead of sending the money to us, she over here, rocking that money.
Yeah, the Fendi and the Prada.
Yeah.
That's some cool stuff.
Yeah.
They just don't play. But yeah, they're scary.
They're powerful. They have the full force of the law behind them, and as you know, tax revenue is what runs this country.
Okay.
So yeah, they're about the business of collecting that money.
Okay. Now on the business side, what are some of the things that you see that bothers you when business owners approach you to help them with their taxes?
So the biggest thing I see is that there are a lot of misconceptions about doing business. The way that you're set up, everybody comes and they say, "Oh, an LLC." Well, an LLC may not be beneficial for you. Depending on where you are in the business cycle, if you're just starting up, you might want to consider some other options unless you're going into a business that you're buying equipment and you're putting out a lot of money to get this business going. Then you might want to look at a more sophisticated form of business organization because it's expensive. Not only to set the business up and invest in it, but the more complex your business return is, the more expensive it gets. So you really want to talk to a competent lawyer when you're going into business, and you also want to seek out a competent tax advisor.
And a competent financial planner as well. I'll put that in there.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, because you needed the hand holding, to get you through, and you need mentorship and guidance, because a lot of people in business, as you know, they're really just guessing.
Yeah, absolutely. Quiet as it's kept.
Yeah, they're really just guessing, and then the only time that they really start learning what's the right way to do is through the mistakes that they make.
Absolutely.
And if you could find a way to kind of shortcut or just know about the mistakes there and the pitfalls that's coming ahead of you, no, that's good. So like for people who are listening and you have an entrepreneur, you're a business person, right? Make sure you have a business bank account, please. Please don't run your money through Cash App. That is crazy to me.
Well, it's okay. Sometimes if you're doing business, it's okay. Cash App provides you with the ability to do that. That's what it's for.
No, what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Cash App is I've met people who their bank account is Cash App, right? They use the Cash App card. They don't deposit it into a business bank, right? They don't. So Cash App doesn't provide you a financial statement, so I can't look at that.
Right.
Right. And read a lot of books. Yeah, it's all there. Everything that's needed.
And get advice. The internet. We live in an age where you have instant access to all sorts of good information. And we were talking about that a little bit ago. I mean, you can learn to do what you need to do, but you still want to have advisors that that you have a relationship with, that understand your particular type of business or your goals, because all of that comes into play when you're trying to start a business, or if you're in a business and you're running it and you want to grow it.
Right.
You need competent financial advice. You need to understand your financial statements. You need to make sure that you can cover your living expenses while you're attempting to grow this business. And you want to make sure you're protected. So you definitely want to get the services of a competent advisor.
Yeah. And another thing I want to address too is when it comes to, I've met a lot of people who feel like they have to have a lot of money to have an advisor or a professional to help them. And a lot of times, a lot of professionals will give you the information without really even charging you, right? I've given out so much information to people without them paying me for the information or for the advice, right? So you just need to just talk to someone who is a professional, not your uncle.
Right.
Or not, if your uncle has a business, then sure, but not someone who's not moving in the same direction as you.
Right. You definitely don't wanna take advice from them. You know, they said, I hear that a lot,
Yeah.
and it's just not good advice. It's not good to guess
Mm-hmm.
because you have actual dollars on the line.
Right.
You want to make sure that you're being a good steward with what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
both for yourself or your family,
Yeah.
and you know, again, to make sure that you are covered.
You're right. And that day set can get you in a lot of trouble. For example, I know a young lady who did her taxes through her pastor. Now, her pastor's a good guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and he probably thinking he's gonna make some extra money for the church or for maybe his stuff or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now she owes the IRS $10,000,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Now, what is he gonna say to you at this point? Your pastor, who's not really a professional, he's a pastor, right? He
Right.
happens to do taxes, right? No, what he's gonna say to you? My bad. That's all I can say.
Right,
That's all I
right.
can say to you at this point, because he
Right.
doesn't know how to take you back out of that stuff. He doesn't know. He just did the taxes, get you a big tax return. You're happy for that time period until the IRS comes around and say, "Hey, you took a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we gave you a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta give us back."
Mm-hmm.
You're a pastor. And so you want to get your advice and your information from experts and not just people who like to give advice.
Right. Correct.
Because there's a lot of certifications and studying that you and I have to do, right?
Right.
Like studying the tax course. Oh my gosh, it's like so many pages of, and then they give you learn something, and then there's another form that you have to learn, and it's like this long, and then the IRS handbook is like 200 pages, and you're just like, it's gonna take some time to get all this stuff done.
You definitely have to have an interest to keep you going. Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to really help you in that situation. There's no shortcut, and you don't want to put somebody in a situation like what you just described. You know, where there has this huge tax liability, and the IRS is going to do what they need to do to get their money. So you know, you really want to know your craft, enjoy your craft, understand your craft. You know, and if you can't get through the reading, then that might be an indication that you know you're not as passionate about it.
Right, right. So I know, Tanya, I know you have a life insurance license as well.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what made you get into insurance as well?
So because like we were talking about earlier, you want to make sure you are protected, right? And life insurance is that vehicle that provides you with that protection, right? So it covers you if something should happen to you while you're trying to build a business. There are different types of insurance, and you want to talk to an advisor and see, based on your goals, what you need to cover yourself, to protect yourself and your income if possible.
Also, on the business side of life insurance, right? For people who think business, life insurance, because it's not something that's easily sold, right? You have to really work to sell life insurance. And a lot of people don't want to have the conversation. No, but to me, it's an essential conversation, right? We're talking about leaving a legacy, making sure that your family continue with their lifestyle, even if you're not there, right? So people don't want to talk about that because they feel uncomfortable with it for some reason. For some reason, I've never felt uncomfortable talking about that. But on the business end, as I was looking into business and as I started expanding my business, when it comes to profit margins and the amount of commissions you can make for making a sale, life insurance is like at the top,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because with business loans get like 5, 10, 12% off the total. If you do a real estate, it's like what 2, 3% off the total of the house. Life insurance, some companies pay you 125% for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
So if the whole premium is $600, they give you 100% plus another 25%, which is crazy. I have yet to find something that gives you that big of return on your time and investment.
That's
as a business.
correct. The other thing is they keep paying you as long as the client keeps paying.
Mm-hmm.
They keep paying you.
Mm-hmm.
So it not only do you get the feeling of helping that client and making sure that that client is protected,
Mm-hmm.
but it also provides you with an opportunity to make sure you are being
Protect
yeah
financially secure too.
yeah and building wealth.
Yeah.
That's life insurance is one of the few industries that you can become an independent millionaire.
Right.
That takes a lot of work.
It does.
It does. It takes a lot of work. I mean, the business in and of itself is simple,
Mm-hmm.
but it requires a lot of work and a lot of hand holding and a lot of finesse to help people understand, like what you say,
Yeah.
to have those conversations on those difficult topics.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think part of being like a good agent is you want to help people who want your help, right? You just want to find the people who are looking for what you have to offer, because you don't want to be in someone's home trying to convince them of something that they don't want, right? And usually, if you're forcing someone to buy a life insurance policy, they're gonna cancel it
Right.
at some point, right? They're gonna find some reason why they don't want it. So that for me, the building a relationship part is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've had people make dinner, right? For me, I have people make lunch. I have people invite me to lunch, and some of my clients are my friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's been really fulfilling to me. But the biggest key for selling life insurance is just to find people who want it and not worry about the people that don't. And it's usually the people who have other people that are dependent on them. Those are the type of people that you gotta look for.
Mm-hmm.
But I like it. I love it. And what I really enjoy about the companies that we work with is, they allow you to do more than just the life insurance, because I could add the taxes
Right.
and the business loans and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So where do you see yourself 5, 10 years from now, Tanya?
I'm really enjoying what I'm doing now. From time to time, I ask myself that question.
Mm-hmm.
I can see myself doing this until retirement because I do love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love working with the clients. You get that satisfaction when you know they're pleased and they know that you've taken care of them and
Mm-hmm.
they can see their business growing, based on the advice that you've given.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, with the client too, when you're protecting their families and something happened. In fact, I just had a girlfriend lose her husband, and right before, a couple of years before he died, he had the good sense to get an insurance policy.
Yeah.
And so he was able to leave money for his sons,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to benefit them greatly as they're growing, becoming young men and looking into college or whatever profession they're going to choose, and being able to, start a family, buy a house, it's great to not have to scratch and start from zero. So that protection, life insurance, can help you to leave a legacy, like you said.
Right.
Give your family a leg up, to help them not have to scratch and start at the bottom like many of us.
Right. Awesome. So we're gonna leave it on that note. We're gonna wrap it up. But Ms. Tanya,
thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you. And
I appreciate it.
we will be doing some follow-up episodes with you in the future.
I love that.
Awesome. So again, that's Tanya McKinley. How can they get in contact with you if they want to talk to you or reach out to you?
The best way to reach me is via email. My email address is as in Tom, M as in Mary, another M, C as in cat, KINLEY @hotmail.com.
Awesome. And I'll put the link in on all our podcasts as well, so you guys can be able to reach her if you guys want to talk to her specifically. Yeah, but that's Tanya McKinley. She is a tax preparer, accountant, businesswoman, a powerhouse. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today and listening to the Canei Business Podcast, episode 2. And we'll continue providing you with content for business owners to help you guys make money and to live a strong, powerful financial life. Be blessed. That's
So awesome! Oh, I love this.